Sophie Cunningham's cuddle demand to Caitlin Clark fuels Fever reunion buzz. Say what? Yeah.
Say what? Yeah. Sophie Cunningham just sent Fever fans into a frenzy with a throwback moment involving Caitlin Clark. And Clark's short reply instantly lit up the entire WNBA. Sophie joked about cuddling and home-cooked dinners, but beneath the laugh sits a real front office dilemma Indiana can't ignore. With expansion drafts looming and free agency frozen until a new CBA is finalized, Fever fans are already picking sides on who must stay.
Many Indiana Fever fans want nothing more than for their team to bring Sophie Cunningham back in free agency this winter, whenever the WNBA league office and its players agree to a new CBA. Of course, Cunningham isn't the only member of the Indiana 2025 team that fans are clamoring to bring back, as Kelsey Mitchell is just as beloved among the fan base. But while Mitchell might make more of an impact on the court compared to Cunningham, the latter's off-court charisma and star power have endeared her to the Fever fan base to an impressive degree, especially because...
And Sophie Cunningham's name is right at the center of it. Of course, she's not the only 2025 Fever player fans want back. Kelsey Mitchell remains a fan favorite and a proven scorer. But while Mitchell's value shows up clearly on the stat sheet, Cunningham brings something harder to measure. Off-court charisma, national visibility, and undeniable chemistry with the league's biggest star.
Let me remind you, she was also the only player in the entire league that we sat back and witnessed literally physically defend Caitlin Clark on the court. Just keeping it real. Watched a lot of other teammates just stand around while Sophie trying to scrap. And for some of us...
And that's where things get complicated. Indiana may soon be forced to protect only a handful of players, and every decision comes with consequences. So the question isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about business, branding, and who this franchise believes is essential to its future. Should the Indiana Fever protect Sophie Cunningham in the expansion draft? So it all starts with a simple Instagram post. Sophie Cunningham shared a throwback clip of her and Caitlin Clark on the court from last season. Nothing dramatic. No captions hinting at anything deeper. Just two teammates sharing a moment that clearly meant something to both of them. But then Caitlin Clark responded. 3 words. That was it. Time to run it back. And in a league where timing is everything, those 3 words landed differently. This isn't just the offseason. Free agency is frozen. CBA negotiations are dragging. Expansion drafts are right around the corner. And suddenly, what looks like casual social media banter starts feeling like a message.
Indiana doesn't necessarily have to choose when it comes to getting Cunningham or Mitchell. Both players have expressed interest in returning. The Fever's front office will have enough money and flexibility to re-sign them, both if they so desire.
Sophie fired back with a joke about cuddling and dinner, and everyone laughed. But behind the humor is a reality Indiana can't ignore. This exchange tells us something important. Caitlin Clark wants Sophie Cunningham back. And Sophie wants to be there. That much is clear. And before we even talk roster math, contracts, or cap space, that matters. Because this isn't just any player making a request. This is the face of the league. This is the player who just changed attendance, ratings, and revenue for the entire WNBA. When she speaks, front offices listen. But of course, the internet did what it always does. The comments turned chaotic. People tried to turn harmless teammate energy into something scandalous. Questions that had nothing to do with basketball flooded the replies. And that's become part of covering this league. 2 women joke online, and suddenly people want to invent controversy. Let's be clear. Caitlin Clark is in a committed relationship. Sophie Cunningham is a teammate and friend. End of story. Nothing more. That noise is irrelevant. What matters is basketball and business. And here's the part that doesn't get said enough. Indiana doesn't actually have to choose right now between Sophie Cunningham and Kelsey Mitchell. Both players have publicly expressed interest in returning. The Fever front office should have the flexibility to bring both back once free agency opens. Money isn't the issue. The issue is timing. Because expansion drafts complicate everything. If Indiana re-signs both players before the expansion draft, they'll be forced to protect both. And that's where this starts getting uncomfortable. Expansion drafts don't care about sentiment. They don't care about chemistry. They don't care about fan favorites. They care about protection slots. And Indiana doesn't have many. Caitlin Clark is untouchable. Aaliyah Boston is untouchable. Lexi Hull is almost certainly protected. Aaliyah Smith is likely protected. That's 4 spots already gone. Most expansion drafts allow teams to protect 5 or 6 players. That leaves Indiana with 1, maybe 2 slots for everyone else. And that's where Sophie Cunningham and Kelsey Mitchell enter the same conversation. Mitchell is the better scorer. She's averaged around 17 points per game. She's been the offensive backbone of this team for years. From a pure basketball perspective, she's the obvious priority. But basketball decisions don't happen in a vacuum anymore. Especially not in the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham brings something different. She brings visibility. She brings attention. She brings fans who weren't watching before. According to Google's year-end data, she was the second most searched female athlete in America in 2024. Not second in the WNBA. Second overall. That's not accidental. That's not just personality. That's platform. Playing next to Caitlin Clark elevates visibility in a way this league hasn't seen before. And Sophie understands how to operate in that spotlight. She has a podcast. She appears on major media outlets. She connects with casual fans who don't track box scores. That matters, especially for expansion teams. If Sophie is left unprotected, Portland and Toronto will line up immediately. New franchises need recognizable names. They need players who can sell jerseys, go on radio shows, show up on podcasts, and generate buzz in a new market. Sophie checks every box. She's a rotation player on the court and a star off it. That combination is rare. And if she's available, she's getting selected. Probably early. Possibly first. And Indiana would lose her for nothing. But there's another layer to this that never shows up in spreadsheets. Watch the film. When Caitlin Clark took hard fouls. When opponents tried to intimidate her. When cheap shots happened. Who stepped in? It wasn't everyone. It was Sophie. She didn't talk about protecting her star in interviews. She did it in real time. She got in faces. She set the tone. That kind of presence changes how teams play against you. It changes how referees see you. It changes locker room dynamics. And Indiana doesn't have many players willing to do that consistently. That matters more than people want to admit. Now let's be honest about the counterargument. Indiana can't build a roster based purely on vibes and social media engagement. Winning still matters. Mitchell is a proven scorer. Lexi Hull took a leap last season. Nalissa Smith is a former number 2 pick. If protecting Sophie means exposing one of those players, that's a real risk. And that's why this decision is so uncomfortable. Because there's no perfect answer. But here's the reality of modern professional sports. Entertainment value and basketball value are no longer separate. The WNBA's new media deal jumped from $50 million per year to $200 million per year. That didn't happen because of defensive schemes. It happened because Caitlin Clark brought mainstream attention. The league is finally being paid for eyeballs. And in that environment, players who amplify that attention matter more than ever. Sophie Cunningham does that. She makes the league louder. She brings in fans who weren't here before. And she fits next to Clark without needing touches or ego. She embraced her role. She did the dirty work. She helped turn Indiana from a lottery team into a playoff team. And now the timing couldn't be worse. Free agency can't start until the CBA is finalized. No one knows when that happens. When it does, everything moves fast. Decisions will be made in days, not months. And that Instagram exchange just put pressure on the front office publicly. Caitlin Clark didn't text this privately. She said it where everyone could see it. That matters. Because if Indiana ignores that signal and loses Sophie to an expansion team, the backlash will be loud. Especially if Sophie thrives elsewhere. Put her in Portland or Toronto as a featured personality, and she could explode in popularity. Not as an all-WNBA player, but as the face of a new franchise. And Indiana would be left explaining why they let that walk. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Sophie Cunningham. It's about what the Fever want to be. A purely basketball-driven organization. Or a franchise that understands the moment they're in. Because the league has changed. The audience has changed. And Caitlin Clark just told you who she wants next to her. Ignoring that would be a gamble. And if it fails, it won't just cost games. It'll cost goodwill, momentum, and trust. And that's the kind of loss that lasts longer than one season. So Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark are clearly on the same page, but now the pressure shifts to the Fever front office to decide how far they're willing to go to keep this core intact without sacrificing other key pieces in the expansion draft. This choice will shape Indiana's future. For more WNBA roster breakdowns, expansion draft talk, and free agency coverage, hit like and subscribe.